Hello there, welcome to Bryan Lomax Movie Talk and my review of Quentin Tarantino's Death Proof. Yes, this is one half of the Grindhouse double feature that was released. Obviously this is a longer version than the version of Death Proof that was in the Grindhouse double feature, which to this day I have still never seen, to be honest. I've only ever seen the full version of Planet Terror and the full version of Death Proof, so there you go. Yeah. Obviously, we've got our 31 on 31 coming up with Fincher, Nolan, and Tarantino. So, obviously, I'm going through his films and watching them, reacquainting myself with them. This is a film that I really didn't expect much from back when I saw it. I didn't get to see it at the cinema, as I say. I saw it when it first came out on DVD. Didn't expect much from it at all, because I'm not really into that whole Grindhouse aesthetic, to be honest. If I'm being honest with it, I'm not that keen on Planet Terror, and that's kind of what I think when I think Grindhouse. So this one, I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not in any rush to see it, but it is Tarantino, so I will give it a go at some point. And when I saw it on DVD way back when, I had an absolute blast with it. I just thought it was, a really fun ride, so to speak. So the film is kind of split into two halves, and what it is we get acquainted with a bunch of girls, we kind of get to know them, and then this guy, Stuntman Mike, comes in and kills them all with his car. And that's it. That is a film in and of itself. And then second part, we kind of get the whole ball rolling once again. We are faced with another group of girls. Stuntman Mike starts to come on the horizon, and only this time these girls turn the tables on him and give him a taste of his own medicine. Now, this is a film that, if released today, if made today, would no doubt be labelled as woke. A terminology that kind of grates on my nerves most of the time that it is used. But yeah, I feel like this is definitely what you would call a girl power movie, but that is not a bad thing. I love the way that Tarantino plays with the expectations in the second half that he built up through the first half. And it's kind of something he would do also with Inglourious Bastards and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Just kind of, with that he was doing it with historical events, so you knew what was going to happen, and then he turned the tables and did something else entirely. And here he, like I say, he does a setup, shows you how it plays out, and then he starts it again, but this time turns the tables. So what I will say is it's definitely not Tarantino's strongest film. In fact, I would go so far as to say it's probably his weakest. Probably my least favourite of his, but it is certainly one of the most watchable. It's a very easy watch. It's not quite as heavy as some of his other films, and I think that comes from the fact that a lot of the characters in this one, they're quite superfluous. They're cannon fodder essentially for Stuntman Mike and his machinations. I have fun with them to an extent. There are a few ticks in this film that grate on my nerves a little bit, where it feels like Tarantino being overly Tarantino. There are times here where it feels like he's almost sending up himself, which again, cutting into that Grindhouse vibe, he could very well be doing. But I feel like some of the dialogue in here is very laboured. In the sense that it feels like Tarantino. It feels like Tarantino trying to be Tarantino at times with some of the dialogue. And I think because not a right lot is being said, I'll explain that. When you look at most Tarantino films, they're quite dialogue heavy, obviously. And there are times when characters can be waffling on. But what they're waffling on about, when you really dig deep, there's usually something in there that actually pertains to what is going on and to who a character is, what they're all about, that kind of thing. You know, like dialogue might be used by one character to aggravate another character. So you'll have someone with a long diatribe that is really designed to do that. So there's always a sense of purpose, I guess. Whereas here, there are a lot of conversations between these girls that just feel very lightweight. Like there's not much under the surface. Okay, so I mean, thankfully, I do still like a lot of their interactions. I do still enjoy quite a lot of their characters. I particularly like Rose Mcgowan in this. Now, she doesn't get to do a right lot, to be honest. Her screen time is quite limited. But she's the first victim of Stuntman Mike. And I think her performance in that, when she realises the situation she's in and she kind of has to turn those emotions on a dime, I think she does an incredible job. Really does. Cracking performance. It kind of makes me miss seeing Rose Mcgowan, to be honest, in movies. You know, I thought she was great in Scream, and she's great here. And obviously, everything that went on with her, that's really soured her kind of affection or desire to work in Hollywood. Understandably so. But as an actress, I do think she has a lot of ability, which is evident here in what is really just quite a thankless role. You know, she's playing a victim, but she's got a lot of sass. She's got, you know, a lot of enmity for the other girls around her, and I think she does a good job of showing that without making us hate her. Without, you know, she's still someone who you can kind of go, you know, I see where she's coming from. I get her perspective. The standout, I think, particularly in the first act, you know, the first half of the film, is Stuntman Mike, is Kurt Russell. Once he comes on the scene and you know, he's doing his thing, he's just very entertaining. He's really fun to watch. He's funny at times, really funny. The bit when he suddenly just gets a sneeze coming and it doesn't come, that kind of comes out of nowhere. And it's just like, it's a stroke of genius. You never see that kind of thing in movies, do you? But it happens in real life. How many times have you had a sneeze creep up on you and you're like, oh, it's going to be a big one, and it doesn't, and it just kind of dies out? And that happens here. And it's just such a random moment to just occur. But, you know, that's what Tarantino does. He throws these very real kind of random moments in it. It just, yeah, stuff like that is really funny. And because of Kurt Russell's delivery, he just nails it. The idea behind this as well, just the idea that you could use your car as a weapon, that you could reinforce it to the degree that you could smash through another car and survive while the other car is just obliterated. It's twisted. It's a really twisted but cool idea for a slasher film, because that's essentially what this is. It's a slasher film, but rather than using a knife, he's using a car, you know, and he's, rather than attacking one person at once, he's trying to take out a slew of people at once in one hit, so to speak. So yeah, really great idea for like a new modern take on a slasher film. And the destruction levels that we see when he does his business is, again, twisted. Granted, very twisted, but highly entertaining, because there's a lot of practical effects work. You know, obviously this is something that Tarantino has spoken about a lot. He hates modern day car chases that are just filled with CGI, and understandably so. There's something so much better about that practical, tactile kind of way of filmmaking that they used to do in the 70s when they didn't have CGI, and yeah, Tarantino brings that here, and it's the best thing about the film, I think, is when you get to the action scenes and you're seeing real cars doing real stunt work and ploughing into each other in real ways. It sells those action moments, really sells them, and I like his use of editing. So when the Death Proof car kind of hits the other car, I like that Tarantino kind of edits it in a way where it's like he goes in on one piece of damage that's done and then almost rewinds it, plays it again, and we see another piece of damage. And so we're seeing all the different singular ways in which he's killed these women like you would in a slasher movie. But obviously we know that these are all done in an instant, in one go. So yeah, really, really great way to kind of take something that would happen in a split second, play it out, and make it have more impact and more effect. The second half of the film, obviously we got a different group of girls, and I gotta say, I prefer this group. I warm to this group a lot more. I think the camaraderie between them is a lot better. They feel a lot more like genuine friends rather than people who might stab each other in the back given the opportunity. I just... There are certain ways that the girls from the first half interact where I'm like, there's too much ego involved there, I think, amongst them. I don't know. Either way, I just don't warm to them that much. And that's probably intentional. Like I say, horror movies, slasher movies, it's always the people you don't like that get killed off first. This group, like I say, I do like them a bit more. Particularly Zoe Bell's character. So Zoe Bell actually is in real life is a stunt woman and is actually Uma Thurman's stunt double in real life. She's done a lot of the stunt double stuff for Uma Thurman in Kill Bill and things like that. So it's nice to see her get to play an actual character on screen, speaking, dialogue driven character. So, but obviously Tarantino casts her in such a way that it plays to her strengths. She gets to do a lot of stunt work and stuff. But I like her character. She's got that Aussie, kind of warm Aussie vibe about her that just, reels you in. Mary Elizabeth Winstead is unfortunately not given as much screen time as the others. She's kind of abandoned by them at one point. I like her. She's a bit of an airhead, but not in an annoying kind of way. She's a bit slow on the intake at times, which I find amusing. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead, let's face it, is easy on the eyes. For me, I've always been a fan of Rosario Dawson as well, so I like her here. She always has a really easy on-screen presence. Rosario Dawson, whenever I see her in something, she just feels very natural. She always seems to be able to find a way to bring that natural part of herself out into her characters. Very likeable on-screen presence. But like I say, Zoe Bell for me is the character that I really enjoy. The standout sequence of the film, of course, does involve her and her crazy stunt work, which is the kind of 15-minute chase sequence at the end in which they're going up against Stuntman Mike. And I absolutely love the way that Kurt Russell plays it. The way he's so smug, so full of himself, so cocksure about kind of torturing these women. And when the tables are turned, from the moment he gets shot by one of them and he realizes that actually these are not girls to have been messed with, and he just turns into a complete chicken, and he's running from them and he's crying, and it's just like it's so comical, but it also feels so real to me, so that this guy is, deep down, he's a coward. He has to hide behind a reinforced car in order to get his rocks off, so to speak. So I like I say, I love that performance from Russell. I love the character. I love the shifts in tone with him. They're very extreme, but they feel genuine as well. They feel real to me, and highly entertaining. And I just love the final moments when these three girls are beating 7 bells out of this guy and getting their revenge on him. It's just a really good revenge tale. The second half is a really good revenge tale, and it's like these girls are getting revenge, not just for them, but for the girls in the first half as well. Now, that's all the positive stuff. Like I say, it's a really enjoyable film, but it's not perfect. It's for a start, Tarantino doesn't really stick with a Grindhouse aesthetic. When we get into the second half of the film, all the grain that he's put on in the first half seems to disappear. It's like he forgot to add it. It's like he forgot to put it on. it's a bit weird to me, you know. It's almost like halfway through he just couldn't be arsed with the whole Grindhouse aesthetic and decided, forget it. They've had enough of that. Let's just stick to proper filmmaking. Yeah, it was just really noticeable. Is that's the thing. It's like the first half, you know, you got all these weird jump cuts where film has been, you know, it's probably burnt up in the gate and has had to be removed. You've got negative dirt, bass scratches, all that kind of stuff on the film, and then we get to the second half with the next bunch of girls, and that all seems to disappear. We get one moment where he goes to black and white, rather bizarrely, but other than that, there isn't really much of an attempt to stick to that Grindhouse feel, which I don't know, just strikes me as odd. You know, I don't need grain on my film, but it's just if you're doing that kind of film, if you're doing it in that style, and then all of a sudden it stops, it becomes noticeable. Another minor issue that I have, and again, this being a Grindhouse movie, you have to take everything with a pinch of salt, because it really doesn't matter in these kind of movies. You're not there for the best stories and the best characters or anything like that, but just because I am me and I can't help but not see this stuff, it's the car, it's the death-proof car, you know. It's towards the end, the believability factor completely goes out the window, that these women would be able to take this guy out once they're in their vehicles. You know, just because we see him completely obliterate a car by just ploughing through it, and you know, his car is death-proof, it's completely reinforced, as he's already stated, and you see that weapon come into effect, and you're like, whew, okay, that does some serious damage. So when they're chasing him in their car that isn't reinforced, that, you know, that is just a regular kind of Dodge car. I mean, there's nothing regular about a Dodge, obviously, but it's not like Stuntman Mike's car, you know. So when they're ramming him with their car, I'm kind of like, really? I'm pretty sure Stuntman Mike could turn the tables on that quite easily and just plough through them the way that he did with the others. So it doesn't ring true to me that he would be so on the run if they're still in their cars. But as I say, it's a Grindhouse movie. Those kind of weird little nuances, shall we say, are not something that you really look out for in these kind of movies. So it's probably me being overly critical. Tarantino does appear in this film as well, and let's face it, Tarantino isn't the best of actors. I think he has delivered some pretty good performances. One in particular being from Dusk Till Dawn. I genuinely think he was quite good in that movie as an actor. Here, it feels very much like, yeah, lip service, fan service, whatever. I don't know, it just feels a bit egotistical the way he's planted himself in the film, and the performance that he gives is a bit eek. Okay, maybe should have avoided that one. Cast someone else. And like I've already said, there are certain scenes with the dialogue where it does feel a bit too Tarantino-esque for the sake of it, and not much is really being given to us with an exploration of the character. Scenes go on a bit longer than perhaps they should. But yeah, on the whole, this is a real fun ride. You know, if you want to blast something on that's going to entertain you, that you don't have to think too much about, that's got some really good car chases in, some great practical effects, and some really cool characters, this is a cracking film. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. Like I say, I think it's probably my least favourite Tarantino film, but when the least favourite film of a director is still a 4-star film, that pretty much tells you what kind of filmmaker you're dealing with. So yeah, 4 out of 5 from me. But what about you? Have you seen Death Proof? Have you seen Grindhouse? And which version of the film do you like best? Do you prefer the shorter cut that sits in Grindhouse, or do you prefer the standalone Death Proof cut of the film? Please comment below, let me know your thoughts. Thank you for watching this video, and until next time, cracking.